Hey guys, how's it going? It's your boy MKS here, back here with part 2 of Black Mondays, the very, as I call it, with strange patterns and things like that. I hope you enjoy it, and especially members of the Black community around the world, including here in the UK, Black Britain and all that, because it's Black British History Month, I suppose you could say. But I like to change the name to Black History Support and Empowerment Month. So I'd love to know what you think a good name could be for Black History Month, if you think it should change, or if you think it should be the same. I'd love to, if I was more organised, I would have made a poll on that, actually, come to think of it. But anyway, I'll try not to waffle, as I often say, but these are about empowering these videos are about empowering the Black, British and worldwide community to help them to network together. For instance, I'd love to help them to network together, and for Mondays, I'd love to focus on things that begin with M, but things like how they can help each other to make more money, business, banking, things to do with money, things to do with investment, and that kind of thing. I was going to say something, but I can't remember for the intro. As I said before, at the end of my last video, this is another point actually, but I can't remember the initial point I was going to make. But as I said at the end of my last video, by the way, I decided to stand up for this video because I thought it's something a bit different, and I'd love to know what you think about whether you can hear my voice more clearly. Some say it gives more energy and more voice. I heard someone say that, at least one person, but a lot of people say that actually, I think. But anyway, now I forgot my train of thought. At the end of the last video, I mentioned how I was going to do this last week, but because I wanted to push for my idea to bring a dyslexia network to go to visit parts of Italy, and also work with Italian football and Celtic, and African and Asian nations, and Latin American nations and Ireland as well, former colonies, basically developing nations and former colonies as well, all around the world, and empower those groups. I wanted to push that idea, so I focused more on that. But anyway, there's something I was going to say in the intro, and I've completely forgotten it. So I'm going to move on to the list, and I hope you enjoy, because I don't like these videos to be too long, just for other people's attention span. I do like to waffle, but just for other people, really. Anyway, as ever, I'd love to know what you think. Do you think that standing up gives me more of a... Sometimes I have to... do you think it gives me more energy and more of a voice projection or whatever? But sometimes I have to be wary of my back, because my back gets a bit sore and things like that. Anyway, here goes. Number 11. I'd love to change perceptions about the Black community, and for Black people to change perceptions. Hence, one of the things I'd love to do is interview members of the Black community, Black people, to talk about their experiences, whether that's experiences with the police or with the law generally, with the legal system, or with the medical industry, or medical Mondays as well, healthcare and stuff like that, or working in such fields, or whatever fields they work in, where they feel that Britain for instance, is a welcoming country or not, and things like all sorts of things like that. So, I mean, I suppose it is whatever the interviewee wants. I want to help them to tell their story. I might even just ask one question: please, can you tell your story? And then just sit quietly for once and listen to them. I can be quiet sometimes, believe it or not. I would listen to them. In fact, I can be quite shy. So when you see me, when I'm not making videos, it can take quite a lot to get out of me. I can even come across as a bit cold until you get to know me. Because I can be, believe it or not, I can be quite quiet. So, but yeah, it is their story. So some might want to wear cover their face, so people can't see them. Might want to use a fake name, similar to what I said with the dyslexic group, or dyslexic individuals as well. They might want to face me, so they can't see the camera, so the camera can't see them, or whatever way makes them comfortable, whichever way makes you comfortable if you're watching, and not just in Britain, but maybe all around the world, like in parts of Africa, and also even America, European countries, and so on and so forth. Also, I'd love to encourage Black people to network together and support each other, encourage each other, be proud of each other, not in an extremist way, obviously, but in a way where they can support each other and never get jealous of each other, but support each other instead. And like they could do walking groups and things like that. And on that note, moving on, I think that covers everything for number 11. Also, I'd love to celebrate and celebrate former or current, and celebrate future inventors, ideas people, investors, and things like that. They could look at how they could learn to invest, build businesses, and things like, similar to what I said, similar if not the same pretty much for what I said for the dyslexic community, although I don't want to repeat myself too much. But anyway, moving on, I think I covered that point in quite a lot of detail. But as ever, if you have any questions, please fire away in the comment section, or send me a message if you want. Number 12, I'd love for them to mentor, be role models for each other, be an inspiration for each other, encourage each other, and maybe then they can work out. I talk about walking, but maybe they could do workouts as well, look at ways to keep fit and healthy, improve healthcare. I think there are some certain conditions that affect Black and actually Asian people more than other groups. So maybe there are some ways. I know there's like an Asian health group where I live, but there could be others for the Black community if there aren't already, and maybe they could mentor each other and talk about. They could talk about tips, like more people who are more successful from the Black community could talk about tips of how they achieved success, fought against racism and things like that, and prejudice or whatever, and how they became victorious. So how to go from the victim to the victor mindset, some people might say. Anywho, I think that covered it, all the points I wanted to cover for number 12. But again, becoming mentors for each other, good role models, discouraging each other from committing crime, criminality and stuff like that, and looking at how they can work with the police, work with the law, ensure they get equal rights to justice. Me personally, I'm not a big fan of quotas. I think the best person for the job should get a job, but maybe to make up for historical injustices, there could be tax exemptions or at least tax cuts or incentives, basically, I think the word I prefer, tax incentives, which could mean that employers, if they employ Black people, they get the lowest amount of taxes possible. Maybe if they employ a certain amount, they could pay close to zero taxes or whatnot, maybe, or at least as low taxes as possible. Number 13, I would also, as I love to interview Black people about their experiences, just generally, including some negative ones, prejudice, they might experience some of the negative things. But again, it does depend on what the interviewee wants to talk about. But I thought I often include a negative one for 13 because of my fear of the number 13 and things like that, that sort of thing. But yeah, some of the more negative stuff. But also, I often say, like, I missed the deadline for this, but on Friday the 13th, I wanted to, for both members of the Black and dyslexic community, as it's both Black History Month and Dyslexia Awareness Month, to make like Halloween masks, costumes, and things like that. They could sell to companies, stories, books, and all sorts of things, even scary games, maybe, or all sorts of things using their creativity and imagination, and that kind of thing. Obviously, some people who are Black are also dyslexic as well, so I think it'd be cool to have a project for like Black and dyslexic people. I keep forgetting a point I was going to make, but anywho, moving on. Number 14, look at how they can solve problems. I'll say, so for instance, how they could, I mean, maybe not completely solve, but how they could challenge prejudice, how they could overcome, as I mentioned in point number 12, how people who overcame prejudice managed to achieve well and went and go from the victim to victor mindset. I don't want to offend any people by saying things that I suppose I've got to be careful what I say, but I mean, I'm thinking of the channel Evan Carmichael, who talks about like Black empowerment as well, although he's not Black himself, just like me, supporting another community. But he talks about like how one African American guy was saying how he went from the victim, or you got to go from the victim mindset to the victor mindset, and I suppose it's similar for dyslexics as well. But if you disagree with any points I make, obviously, I mean, I want to take everyone's prejudice, or everyone's experiences rather of prejudice, seriously, and hear their story, and things like that, things that I may not have experienced myself, or certainly not as badly as some other people who let's say live in less diverse areas or go out more, because I'm quite reclusive. These are like, when I talk on these videos, I talk quite a lot, as I say, but I can be quite reclusive, so I don't go out that much, because I'm in my own sort of world and my own ideas. I try and focus and zone in on those ideas, so I don't go out as much as other people, so my experiences might be different. Number 15, I'd love to see how Black people, as I say, can network together with each other and possibly with other minority communities or others, or allies generally, and look at how they can achieve their aspirations, Black ambition and things like that, and see what they can achieve, and how other communities might be able to help them as like minorities. I love to make like an ethnic minorities united sort of group. I haven't thought about that in the past. Like it could be in sports, like football, or it could be in politics or business, or all sorts of different areas where we can network. So improving relations between Black, Asian, mixed race, and in America, I suppose Native American, Latino, Hispanic, and or even Jewish communities, and that kind of thing. Number 16, I'd love to, as ever, have a committee and think tank to talk about how to get more black people to be confident in running their own businesses, how they can learn to invest, how they can learn to achieve their potential, and what's best for the black community. What are the best methods to help and support the black community as much as possible? Again, here in the UK and all over the world. I think like alliterations like Black Britain, Black British, Black Brits, and things like that. And I want to focus more on America in February. But maybe a point I was going to say is, what could Black British people learn from African Americans as well? And I also just remember the point I was going to make in point number 11. I sort of covered it a little bit in the intro, but I was thinking like how whether people would like, what do you think is the best name for Black History Month? Do you think it should be Black History Month, or do you think it should change to, could be like Black Help Month, Black Network Month, Black Support Month, Black Empowerment Month, or even a longer title? It could be Black History Support and Empowerment Month, or whatever. It could be a range of different names, and I'd love to know which people, especially from the Black community itself, find are the best names. And maybe people would have a vote on it. If I was more organised, I would have made such an opinion poll. But as I say, it'd be cool to have polls on such, and I'd love to hear people's feedback and what you think are the best names, or what you think is the best name for Black History Month. Again, it could well be that you think it should be kept as it is, as it has been for a long time. I don't know when it was founded in America, I think. But anyway, moving on, number 17, I'd love to see what Black people can create using their imagination. Again, many Black people are dyslexic as well, and obviously it's not only dyslexics who can be imaginative and creative. I know they ban it in schools, but maybe not. But I'm just kidding. But as I say, seeing what they can make for Halloween masks, costumes, or things like that, and maybe other things, just generally like all sorts of different things. I'm not into romance myself, but some people from the Black community might well be, and they might want to make romantic stuff or whatever, things for Valentine's Day, things for different events generally, and that kind of thing, and see if they can monetize it and maybe bring some pride into the community. And I think it'd be cool to see Black people around the world unite together. In the past, I thought of like Black people uniting together as Africans, but I suppose I often think of like Indigenous Australasians as well. So as Africans, or with Africans and Indigenous Australasians, and that kind of thing. But I'd love to know again what you think about that. Do you think Black people should unite as Africans and with Indigenous Australasians, like as Black British and African American people come from Africa originally, as far as I'm aware? I know there are some extremists, there are some groups in America who say that they don't originate from Africa or something like that. But I think, as far as I'm aware, they originate from Africa, so maybe they could unite through that sort of thing, or their experiences of racism, things like that, the fact that like the names they've been called and the things they've been told, maybe that could make them think, let's unite together. Number 18, I was thinking of the song by Robbie Lyle from AFTV, Awesome Fan TV, as it used to be called, where he sings "Proud to be Black," and I think it'd be interesting for Black people to talk about what makes them proud to be Black, and that kind of thing. And also, like, another thing I almost forgot actually, my memory is like encouraging more, like supporting more Black people to become models. I know there are already projects like that, but I think it'd be interesting to see more Black models and support them in areas like as musicians, in the movie industry, in the music industry, and things like, again, sticking to the alliteration sort of theme. Number 19, I would love to create a project I call M.O.P., which, or MOP, MOP or MOP, which would be, originally I thought that idea for like African countries where they could work together to make, so MOP could stand for Micro Operating Programmer or Micro Operating Processor, which would be maybe Africa's answer to Microsoft, but where they work together to make programming or coding. Could be something even deeper than that. Could be something that helps as many Africans as possible to become programmers, coders, and designers, or whatever, or do all sorts of things to do with tech, which would be quite ironic for me to come up with an idea like that. Well, I suppose I already have, but as an idea, but it would be quite ironic if my idea became an action, got put into practice, sorry, because it would be quite an irony, because my chest is quite tight because I just ate, but yeah, it'd be quite an irony if someone like me who's not very good at tech, so that's what I'm trying to say, and who's not very good at tech in action. But if from my ideas, people from Africa said, yeah, that would be pretty cool, and all possible African countries, all 54 or 55 African countries, network together to help Africans, as many Africans as possible of all ages, especially the young, who are going to be the future of the continent, the future of countries as well. If they all came together to help to learn to program, code, and things like that. If Africa had its own version of the lakeside programmers, I think it was, or even they could even make a riverside programmers and all sorts of different things like that, where like Bill Gates and Paul Allen learned to program and code. Maybe Africans could have things like that for young people. I often think like old discarded PCs and laptops, like keyboards, which no one uses, could be given to like young girls in Africa, so they could, and young boys as well, I suppose, where they could learn to, or young people generally in Africa, where they could, especially like really young, like 2 or 3, they could learn to type, and it could be a game, and maybe they could have little friendly competitions so you could type the fastest and things like that. And so they're starting from a young age to learn about things. As ever, that might be a naive idea of mine, I don't know, but and maybe they could learn games about how they can encourage each other and work together. I'd love for Africans to make video games, tech games, or a website where they make their own games and things like that, and also work together with the rest of what I call the 6, the other 5 member nations of what I call the 6, which I've talked before about. So basically, people from Australasia, indigenous Australasians, Native Americans, indigenous people from all over the Americas, Africa, Asia, and Latin America, maybe even, and Ireland, but also with the Black community around the world, maybe, or even POC around the world, to help Africans as well, to make like a website where anyone can sort of publish a book as long as it's legal, and they could publish a book for free, but they have to, each book would be £1, and they'd all be online, so they wouldn't have to print them off, and that would make it really cheap. But the company itself would get 50p, and the people who wrote the book got 50p. So that's another idea I had. I know authors would not get a lot of money for each individual book, but it would mean that they'd have low risk to make those books. And I suppose if people said they don't want to be part of that, then if so many readers went onto that website, I suppose eventually, hopefully, it would force, not literally force, but it would make it so that other people would have to be on there so that they could sell their books, because everyone, all the readers, would want to go on there, hopefully, because it's cheaper. But yeah, sometimes I was shy about sharing that idea, just in case people who are more racist, dare I say, didn't want to support it because it supported people at POC. But hopefully enough people will support it, so it would be, I'd love it to be the world's, I say the world's local publisher, but world's local library even. But yeah, that's an idea I want to work on as well. But as I say, m.op. or MOP or whatnot, the micro operating processor or micro operating programmer, mainly I hope will bring together Black people from all around the world. Initially, the idea was just from Africa, but then I added it to indigenous Australasians and then Black people around the world working together to learn how to program and code and everything about tech. Number 20, also I think of an idea I had a while back I call microing, and also MicroHard could be the hardware version of Microsoft, and also if Africa made its own version of Microsoft and things like that. And also I love to encourage companies like Alphabet, which is the parent company of Google. Google itself, I know they already kind of do. Alphabet, especially companies that begin with A, going on alliteration. Alphabet, Apple, Amazon, Amstrad, Alibaba, and many others. But also tech companies generally like Microsoft. I know that doesn't begin with A. IBM, again, I know that doesn't begin with A, but Dell, and all sorts of different, any company that begins with, that works in tech, to just generally support Black people, especially from Africa, indigenous Africans and Australasians. But I've expanded the idea so that hopefully Black people around the world can network together and just support and encourage each other, be proud of each other, and proud of each other's achievements, basically, and never be jealous of each other, but always be proud of each other. Anyway, I'm going to wrap this video up. I think I covered things in a bit too much detail perhaps, but I did want to go through the details. And again, as ever, if anyone has any questions, please fire away in the comments section or drop me a message if you can. For those on YouTube, for those who might be watching on YouTube, hopefully some people are watching, please find me on Facebook. Anyway, I am out. Peace out.